Hello, Abnormal Investigations. I hope everybody has a great Saturday and a great weekend. I want to drop a short encounter today for you guys. Man, this month is flying by. We got our first frost already here, and it seems like it's just in a hurry to hurry up and pass us by. Man, this year is just flying. But I want to thank you all for your support, and hopefully we're going to have some good news for you all. And as I told you all, that will first be dropped on our other channel, Wide Open Adventures. So if you want the first news break on that, you'll want to be there. My encounter happened on a pig farm, so we're calling this the Pig Farm Mystery Encounter. I still shudder recalling that fateful night. As sheriff of a county, I've seen my share of horrors, but this case remains etched in my memory. The county is redacted. I arrived at the pig farm, and the eerie silence hit me like a punch. The farmer, John, laid lifeless in the mud. His body was torn apart by what looked like animal scratches. It was enough to make my gut queasy. As I began to investigate, the farm hands approached me. You could tell that they were afraid by the looks in their eyes. One of them said to me, "Sheriff, we heard strange howls last night." One even whispered like nothing we've ever even heard out here before. We all took note of it. I scrutinized the area, finding claw marks on nearby trees and paw prints leading into the darkness. Of course, I gathered the coroner's report, and it revealed disturbing details. John's wounds were inconsistent with any known animal attack they had ever seen. Rumors spread like wildfire around here, and most people started suspecting, because of the howls and everything, that we had a werewolf on our hands. That stormy night, I received a chilling call from an unknown number. They said, "Sheriff, drop the case. You shouldn't dig any deeper. Let it go." And then the line went dead. It raised my curiosity, but not enough to ever make me stop a case. I knew then that I had to investigate even further. I ventured into those woods with a bright flashlight, and it was trembly in my hand, as I was scared, I will admit. It was very uneasy in those woods. Suddenly, I'd spent a lot of time out there, and it was around 3 in the morning whenever I heard a low, mournful cry echoed through the trees. I froze in my footsteps. Was I being watched? I didn't know. Every snap of a twig, though, it sure made me jump. I saw nothing, but the feeling lingered. Something was out there. A heavy feeling, an uncomfortable feeling. The next morning I returned with backup. We combed the woods, but we found absolutely nothing. That case still remains unsolved. But that haunting howl still echoes in the forest, and I still wonder in my mind, did I really hear it, or was it just my imagination? But one thing's for certain, the pig farm encounter left an impact on my life. A curiosity that drove me further to know what the unknown was in those woods that people drive down the roads every day, passing. Potentially, it's sitting there watching. 3 weeks had passed, and I thought the pig farm case was fading into memory. But then, another gruesome discovery shook us in our small little town. A local hiker, his name we'll call Tim, he was found dead in the woods. His body was mutilated beyond recognition. And let me tell you, when I looked at his body, it looked like a package of hamburger had been dumped out there. It was terrible. The authorities ruled out everything from humans, and they blamed it on a wild hog attack. But I knew better than that. I was a hog hunter. Hogs don't just shred you and leave you laying with chunks. Hogs eat you. This person was shredded. The image still haunts me today, as it was a very gruesome scene. Tim's limbs torn from his body, his flesh was shredded and scattered across the trees. even up through the branches if something was digging plumb out of his chest cavity like a dog would dig dirt. It was as if something had ripped him apart with superhuman strength. Wild hogs don't climb trees, and last I knew they didn't dig or have claws. I couldn't shake the feeling that this was connected to John's death, the same modus operandi, the same unsettling sense of something unnatural. Locals whispered among themselves, fearing the unknown. Some spoke of dark legends and ancient creatures lurking in the woods as the bar filled with people also telling stories. I decided to pay a visit to our local expert on folklore. We'll call him Professor Thompson. When I arrived, he informed me, he said, "Sheriff, you're dealing with something beyond the human understanding." He warned with his eyes huge and his eye sockets bigger than I've ever seen probably on anyone. It was almost eerie. An ancient entity, perhaps, one that's been awakened, a werewolf. I asked with skepticism waning. Thompson nodded. Or something far more sinister, but in the same category, no doubt. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind was just running with theory after theory after theory. So I stood my ground facing off to the sheriff's anger. With all due respect, Sheriff, people have a right to know. We can't sweep this under the rug, I told him. The sheriff was good at hiding things. The sheriff's face dropped that morning, and he looked at me with a very deep red face that I had never seen him do before. I could tell that he was very angry at me. And he said in almost a scream, he said, "You want to panic everyone in town? You want people to stop visiting Mark Twain Forest? Our economy depends on tourism." It pissed me off the way he talked to me. I didn't like the way he spoke down to me. I felt people's lives were more important than having tourists in the woods. Labeling these as animal attacks won't bring back the victims, he said. And he said transparency is bullshit. We only tell the public what they need to know to keep them happy and to keep them calm. The sheriff's expression that morning actually turned really cold, and I was not happy with the way he was handling the situation. Seemed he really didn't care about the safety of the people, more about keeping the tourists coming into town. We label these attacks on purpose, he said, as animal attacks. You think the public can handle the truth? They'll flee and our town will die. A chill in the air. Is that too much for you, deputy? He said. Do you think we should share that truth of what's out there? We don't even know what's out there, so how can we share the truth? He literally went off on me. He has never done this my whole time working for him. And then the sheriff done something that was even more out of just meanness, I thought. He leaned in toward me, getting even close to my face, and he said, barely above a whisper, "There are things in those woods, things that defy explanation. We have had occurrences before. We contain it, and we keep it quiet." I looked at him, and I said, "What occurrences?" The sheriff then turned into a gaze, and he darted around the room before settling back on me. And that's whenever he said firmly and loudly again, "Just drop it. You don't want to know." Suddenly, the strange events, the unexplained deaths, made sense. To me, it felt no more than a cover-up. I left the sheriff's office. Determination was burning within me. I would uncover the truth no matter the cost, even if it was my job. I took an oath to protect and to serve. Protect being the most important. As I walked into the bright sunlight, just a mind rush hit me. What lurked in Mark Twain's forest? What was hidden in my eyes? What was hiding in the Mark Twain National Forest that I had not seen that people know about? And how far would they go to keep it a secret? As I was exiting the sheriff's office, getting ready to do my patrol, the echo that yelled at me I will never forget as he yelled from the back of his office. Again, very out of characteristic for him to scream like that, he yelled. And these words I will never forget as they echoed through the hallway. Shepherd of the Hills. And then he laughed, shutting his door. I didn't think much of it, assuming it was just a bizarre outburst, that he was just angry at me. But the next morning I arrived at work to find my belongings in boxes. What is going on? I asked my colleague. She stated you're fired, she replied, her voice trembling. The sheriff and the mayor decided you're spreading fear into the community. Stunned, I called the sheriff, but he didn't answer. So I drove over across town to a separate office that he used to demand answers. The answer that he gave me is he said that you're compromising our town's economy, he growled. Your wild theories scare tourists away. We can't have that. And I told him, I said, I want the truth, and I kept insisting I'm only looking for the truth. The sheriff's expression turned menacing, and he looked right at me and he said, you'll never find it. You're leaving this county, and you won't come back. Now, not only was I fired, but I was being threatened to leave the only county I've ever grown up in. That evening, being afraid in the way he looked at me, I started packing my bags, and that's whenever I left, and I started heading to Oklahoma. Shepherd of the Hills phrase still haunts me today, and only later did I discover its significance. After studying, I found, in 1907, a novel by Harold Bell Wright, The Shepherd of the Hills, the protagonist uncovers a dark secret in the Ozarks. Was the sheriff's outburst a warning to me? Was that a threat? And then I kept thinking, that was a threat. Now as I drive far away from this place, the forest seems to whisper into the forest that it got away with another cover-up, another death, another stolen soul, another family member taken away. The truth is hidden out there, but the darkness, it'll almost follow you the rest of your life once you see it or touch it. As I left, the town was redacted here, the town name behind, I knew my journey wasn't over. I applied to deputy positions across Oklahoma, determined to continue seeking the truth and justice. Days turned into weeks, and rejection letters piled up. It seemed like the sheriff's influential reach stretched far, and I was now blacklisted. That was the first email that I received from this individual. I didn't get it out because I get a lot of emails of encounters that happen a lot. I received this email, which would be a few weeks later, almost 3 weeks later. I'm just going to go ahead and read it to you. This is a few weeks later. It says, Mike, I wish to remain anonymous, but I thought you should know. It is still okay to share this story, but please know that my husband was killed in an accident. Thank you for what you do, for sharing his encounter. He would be proud. That was really sad to me and really mysterious to me that this was a deputy doing what he felt was trying to get the truth out. It sounds like he was stepping on toes, and sounds like he was threatened. It sounds like they might have wanted him out of the business that he was in anyways, and they didn't want him investigating anything. Maybe he was blackballed. I've heard of that. And maybe they were trying to shut him up and he wouldn't shut up. And, Oklahoma is a hot spot for cryptids, and maybe he didn't come that far into Oklahoma. They didn't say. Maybe he would still be influential in investigating what could have happened there. We have mountain ranges that run from, Arkansas into Oklahoma. So maybe it was still connected and they didn't want that connection. Or maybe it was just an accident. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for listening, guys. Have a great Saturday, a great weekend. Love you guys. Don't forget to hit the like button, and we'll see you on the next one. And don't forget, keep your head on a swivel, and don't be something's dinner.